and then everything is recorded, so we can pause the recording.
All right, welcome everyone. Happy Monday. It is beautiful weather outside. I feel like the pollen has subsided just a little bit, but for all of those that are here, thank you so much for being here today at the April 13th Rotary Club of Raleigh meeting. My name is Harrison Turner, and I am, if you did not know, we were surprised today by our very own Gina Yacone is back here. So everybody on Zoom, Gina is here. Such a great surprise. Would you just like to come up and do the meeting? No, they probably enjoy it more. Anyways, so thankful that you're here. So good to see you. And so thankful to see all of you. To our guests, thank you for being here. I hope that you find this club to be welcoming, exciting, and then also a way to connect with what's happening in our community. So with that, we're going to jump over into our invocation and pledge. I already see some people standing up, ready to go. That's fine. That's okay. As a quick update as well, make sure that you scan the QR code. We have a screen out, but anyways, if you've got the QR code there, make sure to scan that to make sure you do not get a bill in the mail. We're going to have John come up for our invocation and pledge. John.
Greetings. We gather today as Rotarians and friends to celebrate our great city, but not just our city, our community, and the people that have made it great. We're thankful for the leadership and vision that have brought about changes to the region over the last 50 to 75 years. We're grateful for the leaders who saw that there was a need for progress and opportunity for our community. And they moved forward and built the Research Triangle Park. Thank you for our speaker today. Thank you for the opportunity to celebrate this great country this year. Thank you for the opportunity to plant trees for the next generation to come behind us so that we can be people of vision, progressing forward for the next generation. Amen. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless America, and that I love, stand beside her and guide her through the night to the light from above, from the mountains to the prairie, to the ocean, white with foam. God bless America, our home, sweet home. R-O-T. A-R-Y. That spells Rotary.
All right, fantastic. Wonderful. All right, moving on. It's my favorite part of our meetings. It's getting to know our guests a little bit. So we're going to have Paul Watson come up. He's going to be introducing our guest today. When he passes you the mic, all we ask you to do is just say your name, what you do, and what brings you to Rotary. And again, we're so thankful you're here.
All right, so I know one guest because everybody's talked to her. Hi.
Well, hi, friends. My name is Gina Yacone. I am in cybersecurity, which many of you guys know. I was a member of this Rotary for many years, which holds a strong place in my heart. And now I live in Denver, Colorado, and I'm a part of the Rotary Club of Denver, which is also over 100 years old. So I needed to find the oldest clubs to lean into so I could be still connected to my home club, which is here.
All right, I see some guests over here. Yes, ladies first. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Gabriella. This is my second time visiting. Yes, thank you for having me back. I work as a residential real estate agent all across the Triangle area. I'm looking to join Rotary. I was actually part of it in the Interact Club in high school. Yep. So looking to get connected and give back to the community. Sweet.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Dalton. I am a Medicare agent. I've been invited today from Wes. He and I have worked in similar spaces and we've become friends over the last few months, and he wanted to invite me to meet you all today. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hey, thank you. I'm Pharrell Keogh. I'm a commercial broker. Handle property all throughout the Southeast. Very happy to be here. Got a wonderful invitation from Harrison to come back for my second visit. And I was, how can we say, the free labor up for my father's Rotary Club up in Maryland. There's always chairs to be stacked, tables to be folded. And I was young and strong and still have a good back. So happy to be here. Thank you all so much for having me.
Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay. Think we're good. All right. Yeah. I'm gonna just hold on to this.
Yeah, go right ahead.
All right. So I am the public image chair. Leslie is still, if you don't know, she's still part of Rotary, but she was having to commute like an hour each way. So I took it over. And one of the things I would like to do is, if you've ever gone to Google to research a business before you've actually tried out that business, you'll understand why we need more Google reviews. We want people to see that we are actually a good organization. We want people to come visit us. And so some people may research us online. So if you haven't, and you're willing to leave 5 stars, you 1-star people, go talk to Harrison. But 5 stars, please do that. Now, not everybody do it at once, so we don't look like a bunch of AI bots, but if you're willing to do it over the next day or two, that would be really, really helpful. And if you have any questions, you can come talk to me.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and I will say thank you for the update. Round of applause. That beautiful. Yes, unfortunately, because of the distance, Leslie was doing her best to make our meetings virtually, but the hour travel time was just making it hard for her. So she wanted to get to a club that was closer to her in her area. So she'll still be a Rotarian. But I just want to say a round of applause to Paul Watson for picking up all the hard work that Leslie has done and continuing to make us look good. So thank you for that. All right. Moving on. We have a service update with Kevin Summers.
I like that you cut off my eye.
Nobody needs to see your eyes.
Nobody needs to see my eyes. Oh, I don't have any help here. There's no monitor there. No, but I have this. All right. First thing is, this Saturday, we have a tree planting. And I hope that this is what we've been talking about for a year, Raleigh, Rotary, and trees. So this is a great opportunity for service and to give back to your community. We all join and talk about service above self, and here's your challenge. Saturday morning, 9 to 12, depending on how many people show up, we could be done faster, but come out and help us plant trees. There's a sign up in the newsletter, and if you can't find the link, email Linda, me. And then coming up beyond that, the Great Raleigh Cleanup. Eric, you want to talk about that, or? All right, we'll let Eric talk. I wasn't prepared because I thought you wanted to talk about that.
Okay, oh, that's fine. So if you're not able to make the tree planting this weekend, there's another opportunity to do some great outdoor service work the following weekend. This is led by the Crabtree Club. And they have got a grant to get as many people as are available to clean up the greenways all around the area around Crabtree Valley Mall. And so we'll all meet at a spot kind of back Crabtree Valley Avenue and Homewood Banks Drive at 9:30 a.m. April 25th. We'll send details about where to meet and how to sign up via email. We'll meet there at 9:30 a.m. There'll be groups, and you'll be assigned to one of these spots there on the Greenway to clean it up. And then apparently they're serving lunch at San Marcos Mexican restaurant afterwards. Please take advantage of that opportunity if you happen to be available that Saturday, and you can join with other clubs in the area to help clean up our city. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eric. Now, Kevin, did you want to say anything about the stream cleanup? That's in May. Well, keep it on your radar. May 2nd, we do have our stream cleanup. Just keep that on your radar for the beginning of May as an additional project for you to be a part of. All right, moving on. Diamante, I don't see him, so I'm going to have to do my best to do a Diamante. So how are we doing, everyone? Let me hear that again. Okay, all right, so good. As Diamante, I just want to say that I've understood that I've been pulling for the wrong team for years, and I'm putting my allegiance to Duke going forward. Diamante will love hearing that. Real quick update for membership while he's not here. Can I please have Chuck Leedy come meet us up front? If you come up front, sir. I don't think you were expecting this. All good, brother. All good. Everyone here, Chuck Leedy, you've been a part of our club for how long now?
Year.
About a year.
Yeah.
You have been one of those wonderful members that jumped in, both feet in, got involved in our club, got to know our members, been involved with board meetings, coming up to speak to our club here soon.
I've done about a third of this.
But when you joined the Rotary Club of Raleigh, you were provided with a list of things that you needed to complete to get from your red badge to your blue badge.
Yes.
You have completed that list.
Right.
And so today, I'm honored to provide you. You can take that red badge off.
Okay. Thank you
With
very
your
much.
honorary Rotary Club of Raleigh name tag. It's
Thank you very
official.
much.
Rotary Club of Raleigh, would you please stand and thank Chuck Leedy for all the work and commitment to the club?
Thank you all.
I'll keep the record.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Nice little surprise for you, brother. There we go. And the next update for Rotary Club, and you really can't see it on here, but I know you can see it above me. On 4/30, so April 30th, here at 5 o'clock at Tobacco Road, we have our new member orientation. So if you are a new member and you have not done your new member orientation yet, please get with Diamante, myself, or Linda to provide you the details. It's a kind of a crash course in all things Rotary, from our district, our club, and international level, to kind of get you more involved in what's happening in Rotary Club. So make sure to mark your calendar if you've not been to that. It is one of the requirements to get your blue badge. So again, April 30th, 5 p.m. here at Tobacco Road. Moving on to fundraising, John Cates, I believe you've got a fundraising update for us.
Hey, it's super glad to see you guys today. Glad everybody could make it to the Rotary Club. I'm really excited because we're getting to a real fun part of the campaign. A lot of celebrating going on, a lot of opportunities to participate in community events. The most important thing that you do right now is mark your calendar and respond to the invite that Linda sent out for the April 27th club meeting at the Governor's Mansion. It's going to be from 12 to 1:30, and it's going to be a really fun event. We're going to have a chance to celebrate the oak tree, the America 250 oak tree that we planted at the Governor's Mansion earlier this year. And I'm not sure exactly who the speaker is. We're waiting to find out, but it will be a great speaker. We'll have time to socialize. And I've encouraged people to bring someone. Bring someone that wants to see good things happening in the world. Bring someone that wants to see what it means to make a difference for the future. The world can use a little hope right now, and our club is providing that. So come, we have the sponsors will be there. It'll be a really great event. Hopefully the weather will continue to be warm and beautiful. As far as celebrating goes, on Saturday night, if you didn't make it downtown to the Martin Marietta Center and the Fletcher Opera Theater, I know some of us was there. Kevin was there, and Chuck Leedy was there. The Crabtree Rotary Club did a fabulous job celebrating music and culture over the last 250 years. Some of the performers were amazing. Their voices were awesome. The amount of effort they put into the story. will just make you proud to be a Rotarian. Chuck and I had a chance to be there and talk about trees a little bit. And Audrey Reed, who put this together, asked if I could present them with a certificate and plant a tree to celebrate that fine event. So we did that. We presented them with a certificate of appreciation for them putting such an event together. And our club will plant an oak tree celebrating that event sometime this fall, somewhere on city property, somewhere along the Crabtree Greenway. So we'll keep you posted on that. It was really super. And lastly, I just want to think a little bit about planting trees, because we're going to hear about the RTP, which was really something that came together because people had the vision to do something about 75 years ago. Well, I told you a couple of weeks ago, a 75-year-old oak tree is 6 to 8 feet in diameter and about 80 feet tall. It's not completely mature yet, but it's really doing a lot to sustain wildlife, and it's also doing a lot to help with carbon, collecting carbon. Oak trees are a carbon machine. They take carbon and they put it in the ground. So I'm excited that our club is planting oak trees, and it's going to make a difference. They'll look small now, but for people that come behind us, they'll be very appreciative. Thank you very much.
As always, thank you so much, John, for all your dedication, your support, and making this campaign and this fundraiser just an amazing success. All right, moving on. Tom Holder, we have some NCAA, I guess, updates.
Updates from the commissioner. We had 15 members participate, $100 a piece, so we raised $1,500. We did a first prize and we did a second prize. First prize, $400 went to Paul Corsa. He is not here, so we'll present that check to him next. Well, have we got another Paul in the room? I think we do. The Paul that's here could get the check. And then Richard Averett, who has won it all in the past, he came in second, and he's already picked up his prize, $200. Thank you guys for playing. That was an exciting men's tournament, some crazy games and some outcome. Paul, I have your check for you. It'll be tough to deliver it through Zoom. I'll get a deposit ticket out and put it in your bank account. Very good. Next time you'll see the commissioner, we're going to do the annual fun NFL fantasy football thing in the fall. You know, get away from round ball, get back to oblong ball. I'm more of a football fan anyway than round ball. Thanks, everybody. Y'all take care.
Thank you, Commish. Appreciate it. All right, moving on. Birthdays and anniversaries. Cindy Poole Roberts on the 15th in a couple days. Happy birthday to you, as well as our very own Jim Graham on the 16th. Jim, you're in the room, aren't you? I thought I saw him. Oh, there. Yeah, there you are. Happy birthday to you, sir. No anniversaries, but yes, happy birthday to all. You're turning 21. The third or fourth. Upcoming meetings. Coming up on the 20th, we have Sarah Crawford, the CEO of TLC, coming to speak to us. And then, as we all know, we've talked about, make sure to mark your calendars. The 27th, we're going to have our luncheon at the Governor's Mansion, celebrating all the hard work we've done from the tree planting, but also it's a great opportunity, as John said, bring someone that you want to show Rotary to and display. What better way to show someone Rotary for the first time than at an event at the Governor's Mansion where we're highlighting all the good work we're doing in our community. After that, we have American 250 North Carolina presentation from Chelsea Kiefer. She's going to be coming in and doing a special presentation on American 250. And then on the 11th, mark your calendars, we have our own Chuck Leedy coming to present on a fun topic about the fluctuation in oil prices. So that will be fun. I know he's going to have a lot, an ever-changing conversation on that one. So, all right, moving on. John, back up here for the raffle, sir.
Thank you guys for participating in the raffle. For those of you that did, Today's prize is $340 if you win the Ace of Clubs. If you don't, it's $40, so you definitely get more than you invested back. Would you draw a ticket, please? Thank you very much. The winning ticket number is 144392. 144392. Come forward.
All right, now you get to pull a card. And if it's the Ace of Clubs, you get the full pot. If it's a Joker, you get what, $200? Or is it 100?
There's your $40. For sure, no matter what happens.
All right.
Okay. Move them around a little bit. Okay. Big card, any card. One.
All right.
Ten of hearts.
10 of hearts.
10 of hearts for pot. 40.
All right. Hey, congratulations. Still walking away a winner. Beautiful. Showing your strength right there, man.
Oh, yeah.
All right, moving on to Happy Dollars and a cart bucket. As always, remember, if you have any spare change that you'd like to donate to the Dimensional Alliance of North Carolina, please do that on the cart bucket. But we're also going to go around the room if happy dollars. I mean, I know there's not a lot going on in sports right now, but there's probably some happy dollars to have. So do we have anybody have? Gina, of course.
I would like to give 100 happy dollars for you guys just having me here today. I really love to come back. So thank you.
Wow. You're always welcome here, Gina. Wow. Kevin.
I didn't get a chance because we didn't meet last week. Perk's not here, so I can't rub it in. But how about my Michigan Wolverines, huh? So their second basketball championship for $2.
What was the last time they won it? It was in the 80s, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Good dollars there. Any other happy dollars? Tom.
We got a happy dollar. If you remember, a couple of weeks ago, we had a raffle for $250 gift certificate at Oak Steakhouse.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to win, so I took the entire family Saturday night to Oak Steakhouse, and fabulous place. The people are wonderful. The manager, Nicholas, is very interested in Rotary, so I'm bringing him to the governor's mansion. And I suggest it's not cheap, but it's good.
Wow. That's wonderful, Tom. That's great. I'm glad you and your family had a good time with it.
And I have 3 vegetarians, and they all found something to eat in the steakhouse.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's good to know. Yes, sir. Oh, do you? I feel like you should remind them that.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to remind you that Duke did beat Michigan.
It's true. It's only one game that matters. That's right. Any other happy dollars we got? No, not hearing any? Okay. All right. Well, hopefully we'll have some more happy dollars coming into next week. All right, now we get the opportunity of our featured presentation. Very excited to have Andrew Holton here. He's the COO and EVP for Research Triangle Foundation of North Carolina. Today, we are pleased to have Andrew Holton, Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer for Research Triangle Foundation of North Carolina. Andrew joined the foundation in October 2024 and oversees finance, administration, marketing, communications, and real estate. Prior to joining RTP, he worked on a large-scale development and revitalization projects across North Carolina and beyond, including a $350 million downtown development in Wilson and a $250 million mixed-use project in Kannapolis. Andrew really does love putting good dollars to work. Earlier in his career, Andrew worked with the UNC program on public life and the North Carolina Department of State Treasurer, where he developed a passion for public-private partnerships and community impact. Andrew earned his undergraduate degree from UNC Chapel Hill and his law degree from the University of Wisconsin Law School. Please join me in welcoming Andrew. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here.
How are y'all doing? Well, thanks for having me. It's good to be here. Good to talk about one of the things I like to talk most about, which is Research Triangle Park. We're going to break it down into 3 sections, talk a little bit about the history. Looks like we have some folks here who may be old enough to remember the origin of the park, but for many of us, it's sort of a oasis hidden in the trees. We like to talk a little bit about how we got started. We'll talk a little bit about what we're doing right now, which you can see on the ground right off I-40 on Davis Drive and Highway 54. And then want to spend a little bit of time talking about the future, because I think that our future, both for the region and for RTP proper, is in front of us. I am a child of the region. I grew up in Durham County, went to high school at Northern Durham, went to college in Chapel Hill, and have lived in Raleigh for about 21 years. So I see myself as a citizen of the Triangle and really appreciate what RTP has become. But I got to tell you, when I started this job, I could not have told you what the outline, what the boundary of RTP really was. For me, it was a series of intersections along I-40. You sort of drive down, you say, okay, well, I think it starts somewhere around Davis Drive, and I know when I get to the airport, I'm probably out of it. But otherwise, I didn't really have a sense. I've never had the pleasure of working at one of the companies that are in the park. It was this sort of amorphous thing. So one of the things that we try to tell people is sort of what is the RTP, because it really does define our region. So it starts with that red outline you see. It's kind of a funky shape. It's 10 miles by about 3 miles. Very vertically oriented. It crosses between Wake and Durham counties. It's about 80% in Durham County, 20% in Wake County. As you see, it's pretty equidistant between the 3 major research universities. That's probably obvious if you're going along 40, but it is interesting to sort of see how it is this sort of oasis in the middle, but it's also close to several of Wake County's largest, fastest growing communities. What's not known is that it was largely, or lesser known, it is largely the function of people from outside the Triangle area. Now, that doesn't mean that folks here, Romeo Guest, Rob Tier, folks who were really influential in the development in the park didn't have a major role, but the real impetus was from folks from the western part of the state, folks from Greensboro, Winston-Salem, Wachovia Bank had a big role in it. And they really sort of said, hey, this part of the Triangle is maybe underperforming what it could be, especially because we have these 3 institutions. So the farming, the textiles, the tobacco that we were known for, we knew that those days were coming to a close, or at least not going to allow us to sort of have the economic development that we could have. And so it was folks from the western part of the state who sort of came together, started working with various governors, and it took multiple administrations to sort of pull the park together. A quick shout out for a friend of mine, Mac Paul, local Raleigh attorney, and his father, Alan Paul, are in the process of publishing a history of RTP. So if any of this intrigues you, stay on the lookout for that. I expect that it'll be out in the next couple of months, but it'll be sort of a comprehensive history. They spent many years putting it together and really telling the story of RTP. The 3 missions of the Research Triangle Park and the foundation, which sort of serves as the stewardship organization, are to facilitate collaboration among the Triangle universities, to promote cooperation between industry and the universities, and to create economic impact for the state of North Carolina. Notice that 2 of those are tied to universities. That is core to what we do in Research Triangle Park. We think about it as this economic development engine, which it is, but everything comes back to the 3 universities. And now we've expanded as we've gone through, as our education ecosystem has evolved. Sorry for the Duke fans that we cut you off. But you know, what was Duke, NC State, and UNC has grown to include Meredith College, NC Central, Shaw, Peace College University. Several universities that are no longer colleges and universities that aren't core to the Triangle, but are now part of our metro area. We see higher education as the base. It's what's made this region grow over the last 65 years, and it will continue to sort of be our base going forward. But I can't go any further without giving a shout out to our community colleges. Our community colleges here are as responsible as our higher education institutions. We were meeting with a large pharmaceutical company not too long ago. They knew the region pretty well. They had met with folks, and we sort of said, hey, would you like us to introduce you to the folks at Duke or UNC or NC State? And they said, well, I mean, if it would be good for you for us to talk to them, we're happy to do it. Who we really want to talk to are the folks at Wake Tech and Durham Tech. They're the folks who are sort of creating the pharmaceutical jobs that are really defining our industry right now. So higher ed is at our core. We've got 16, 17 sort of core companies. They're the sort of flagship names that you see. overall, we've got 385 companies in RTP. We're proud to sort of represent 5 or 6 sort of major industry clusters and be sort of in the top 5 nationally in those areas, but we're not number 1 on anything. And that's really one of our messages as we sort of promote economic development for the park, is to talk about our generalization, our ability to create expertise based on these universities in a wide variety of areas. And so it's allowed us to develop verticals in many places, and we think that will continue to be our competitive advantage going forward. So we formed in 1959. We've just sort of had our 65th anniversary. There's about 10 years of seeding it. So the 75-year oak tree comparison is very apt. Like I said, we're about 10 by 3, so 7,000 7,000 acres. We're about 23 kilometers. We do a lot of international presentations, so we do this with kilometers. We're the largest research park in the United States and actually in North America. Like I said, 385 companies, 55,000 employees. Recent impact study showed that we've generated an additional 142,000 jobs beyond those 55,000 actual workers. We contribute about $25 billion to the state's economy every year. So what does 7,000 acres look like? Here is the boundary of RTP, and I'm going to show you in just a second these circles that represent the universities and the downtowns of Raleigh and Durham. We put all of those into the park boundaries, they'd almost fit. It gives you a sense of sort of scope and scale. Again, I had no idea as I would drive through I-40 as a kid that that's the size of the park, but it's a big area. For those of you who know other markets, it's about half the size of Manhattan Island. And if you know Boston, it would take up most of what we would call the core of downtown Boston, sort of extending into Cambridge and Kendall Square and going all the way to the Seaport District there in Boston. So in terms of land, it's a lot of land. And we think it continues to be one of our best assets as a region. One of the things that we've been thinking about a lot as we define the region and we think about the park is how it evolves outside of Wake and Durham counties. Those are obvious, Raleigh and Durham being the sort of linchpins, the anchors that they are. But what we've seen over the last 20 years is other counties outside of kind of the core triangle embracing our metropolitan region. When you look at a 30-minute drive radius around RTP, you actually touch 15 different counties. 14 of those are represented by the Research Triangle Regional Partnership, which is kind of the regional economic development entity that serves our area. And so when we talk about RTP, we think it's really important to think not just about Raleigh, Wake, Durham, and Durham, but also these sort of broader counties. And that's actually been a large part of the economic development strategy over the last 20 years. When you look at the pharmaceutical announcements that have been made, they're not just companies in the park. You've got Fujifilm, which has a huge R&D component in the park, but is also developing a massive $2 billion facility in Holly Springs. And so the ability to think about manufacturing in what we call our halo counties around Durham and Wake, while also investing heavily in research, development, and sort of our business industries in the core counties has been part of what's allowed for the growth to happen over the last 20 years. How did we get here? We built this thing sort of scrapping together a lot of different parcels of land. Ultimately, the hope was that the state was going to come to the table and provide money. That did not happen. We had gubernatorial support, but ultimately there was no legislative appropriation in the 50s. And so the bankers, the folks from Winston-Salem and Greensboro who helped stimulate the park, they took out loans. The park was funded based on debt. 7,000 acres, number of different parcels, as you can imagine, that were assembled to make up that assemblage. Ultimately, though, it was sort of financed. And so our business model for the first 50 years was to slowly sell land to companies that needed the resource, subject to restrictive covenants. So there are pretty substantial covenants on the land that sort of determine what can be done. If you were to build a research park today, and in fact, most that are, you would do it through a land lease model. You might have a 100-year lease to IBM, and IBM would sort of build their facility, but would not own the land. Most of the companies that own dirt in the park own the dirt outright. There are now a couple of master developers who have come in, ARE, and folks like that. But for the most part, you're dealing with owner occupants. And that's created a challenge because over the years, we've sold off our land. We have about 400 acres of that 7,000 left. And so we've had to shift from a business model that was driven by property sales to a business model that is more asset management and property management based. So we've been developing core assets within the park to be mixed-use communities so that we can pay our overhead and do some of the diplomatic and economic development functions that we're asked to do. So it was animated, but the timing was a little off. My apologies. So this is just showing sort of the first stage of the park. We call it RTP 1.0, and it takes us sort of through the 1980s. IBM and the EPA were two of the initial tenants. They are the two largest campuses in the park. IBM's the largest privately held campus of right around 400 acres. EPA owns about 450 acres, split between two separate divisions. But that sort of got us formed. Then in the 1980s, we saw our major growth. From 1980 to about 2000, you saw roughly 6 new companies a year, roughly 800 employees a year. So a lot of growth. That's where we really defined ourselves as a region, and the park sort of grew to its current day sort of manifestation. In 2012, we started thinking about the long term, and we did our first sort of master plan thinking about mixed use in the park. Up till that point, the park was completely commercial. Even today, there's very limited residential and retail, but at that point, it was the 60s era sort of corporate campus. That's what we were looking to develop and build, and that was what was rolling. And around 2012, we realized that may not be the long-term view for the park, and we started thinking about next steps. We worked in earnest in 2014 and bought the 100-acre Hub RTP campus. For those of you who know the area well, that's where the old Governor's Inn used to be. There have been various banks sort of there on that assemblage, but it's there off the intersection of 54 and Davis Drive. That was the first investment to sort of really think about what an asset management oriented strategy would look like, and one that we could develop ourselves. And that's what we're in the middle of right now. Over the last 10 years, we've been sort of slowly moving towards activating that space. We bought an old, as part of that assemblage, there was an old IBM and then Lenovo manufacturing facility from when they were both manufacturing computers in the park. We bought that, we repurposed that space, and that's now what we call the Frontier. It's a co-working space and small business development sort of space where companies can come and have an address in the park. In the last 20 years, most of the growth in terms of number of companies have been through small companies. About 200, about 120 of the 385 companies have come in the last 20 years, and they are all sort of in that small business sort of area. So we've moved from being big whales to a full ecosystem of lots of different types of companies. We opened Boxyard RTP in 2020. That was a chance to amenitize the park and sort of experiment with retail. For those of you who do know the park, you'll know that there's a food desert sort of within that 7,000 acres. And so this was the first attempt to try to bring food and retail opportunities in the park. It was modeled after a shipping container project in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The idea was to sort of create an outdoor environment where people could come and eat and drink and socialize and sort of be an amenity for the park and for our hub sort of area. And in 2021, we really started developing the next phase of the hub project. So of the 100 acres, about 50 are devoted to adaptive reuse existing buildings, and about 50 are now devoted to new construction, which we hope will be RTP's new downtown. So one of the things that we take pride in is our placemaking. We try to think about how to activate the park, not just our campus on Hub RTP, but also the 7,000 acres. We do about 650 events a year that spread between happy hours on Thursdays where anybody can come in and have a couple of beers and sort of get to know other people in the park, to art-oriented events. We have speakers. We really work hard to try to create an ecosystem where innovation and entrepreneurship can grow. We are at a disadvantage to a lot of urban sort of markets because it requires a car to get there. And so we try to create attractions and ways to sort of bring people in. That decentralized nature of our region has always been something that's made it hard for people to come together. You probably experienced that here, right? If somebody were to offer a lunch meeting in RTP, you think twice about jumping on the road and going there middle of the workday. Same thing at the end of the day. If there's a great event at 5 o'clock, I think twice about getting on the interstate and going. And so we're always trying to think about ways to incentivize folks to come together and see the park as sort of that middle part of the triangle. So this is a look at what that hub RTP campus looks like. Like I said, it's sort of split down the middle where you see that Highway 54 blurb. That's kind of the middle point. And so on the right is the new construction. That's a plan. I'll point to where we're already underway. And to the left is the adaptive reuse piece. We see this is probably a 10 to 15 year master development effort, one that we hope by the end of the day will connect all of these areas, preserving some green space, connecting to our trail system throughout the park, but also sort of bringing much needed live, work, play environment to RTP property. One of the things that we were able to do as part of our infrastructure investment is sort of daylight the Burdens Creek watershed, which has largely been paved over. So we sort of broke that up and created a natural feature that will be kind of the central to what we call downtown RTP. And there you see on the right, you see our first commercial office building. That was finished about a year ago. We're in the process of leasing it up. Can't say that's been the easiest process. For those of you in real estate, I assume you can empathize. We've had a lot of hits. We've had a lot of interested parties. And we are seeing sort of strong demand for sort of Class A+ office space that is hyper amenitized and tied to a strong retail presence. And that's really what we've focused on, is cultivating that retail presence. We see Fenton, we see North Hills, we see the success that they're having. And so we're trying to create a destination food experience where you will want to get on the interstate and maybe come visit after work one afternoon if you're based here in downtown Raleigh, or definitely meet your friends in Durham, Chapel Hill, throughout the triangle, and sort of see that as a center point. So we've got Cheney open. Cheney they actually had a presence here in Raleigh. They now have their flagship is in Durham, but they've opened a second location. So it's sort of modern Indian fare. There's a bodega that's tied to that. Prime Barbecue, for those of you in the barbecue fan space, they have made a lot of waves in Nightdale, and they're going to be taking a new sort of model to RTP, both serving the traditional barbecue, but also doing steaks in the evenings. We've got Drift Coffee, which has been expanding. It's a Wilmington franchise. It's been expanding readily in this area. They're on Wade Avenue, as well as I think 2 other locations here in Raleigh proper. And DeFara Pizza, which is a Brooklyn-style pizza place. Those are all tenants that are underway with their upfitting, and we hope to be open in the next 3 to 6 months. Art's been a big part of what we've done, and we've tried to sort of encourage public participation. Just a quick story. We knew we wanted to do art, and we had a budget for art in our master development sort of effort. We hired a consultant, and the consultant told us it was going to cost $500,000 to sort of facilitate this project. That felt a little steep to us, and so we talked to another person, actually somebody from Colorado, who we had been referred to. And that person said, you know, what you really need to do is you need to come up with a simple RFP that artists can respond to directly, and then you need to ask them to tell you what it costs to do their work. Take the middleman out of it. Don't spend a lot of time with deep consultation. Go to the artist directly. So we did that. We were able to get what we think is a impressive collection of muralists and sculptors and folks who have contributed art to the park, but much less than we would have had to pay that outside expert to sort of do. The artists got what they asked for. We were able to hit all of them where they asked. And we think it's been great to sort of create some vitality in the park early days. So we're proud of that. Mural there of the heron is sort of our flagship mural on the parking deck next to 54 in Davis. But we definitely are proud of the art and expect more investment in the art to come. Talked about the stormwater. I'll move through because I want to get to the next phase. One of the things that we are excited about is having a sort of upscale hotel. The park hasn't really had a hotel presence since the Governor's Inn left. There's several on the periphery and obviously lots of hotels around the airport. But the Umstead is really the only high-end hotel offering we have in the region, in that part of the region at least. Raleigh, I think, has made lots of strides in that space. We're inspired by the Renaissance in North Hills and actually see a Renaissance product coming to life here in our Hub RTP campus fairly soon. We have a developer in place. The financing for the project has been slowed a little bit based on the real estate market, but we hope to be, we're supposed to have broken ground earlier this year. We're hoping to break ground later this year and have a 280 room hotel that will be the kind of hotel that we think RTP needs. The ground level and the second and third levels will be kind of a living room for both the Hub RTP project and for RTP as a whole. We think that's a place where we can do lots of interesting meeting spaces, and people who are coming and going from the airport can sort of gather and have the elevated experience you see in the larger metropolitan region. So we're excited about that. plans are done, it's permitted, we just have to get that sucker financed and move on. Lab space is also part of the Hub RTP vision. Longfellow has a parcel right next to our parking deck and one that we think will come under construction as soon as the market picks up a little bit. We have seen sustained strength in the lab space in the region, just not growth. So some space, San Diego, Boston, they've actually seen a reduction of space for labs over the last 5 years. We've maintained sort of a pretty good equilibrium, but we haven't grown the way that we were hoping that we would. And so the thought is as soon as the markets improve, lab space will increase in demand and some of these lab projects will get back underway. So that's 2.0, sort of the experimentation with what mixed use looks like in RTP. I want to talk a little bit about what we call RTP 3.0, which is sort of the next 50 years. So we've begun this multi-year planning process. We've spent the last 5 years really talking to folks throughout the region, trying to understand how do we maximize what is a donut hole in our region. It's really interesting when you look at our region on a map and you haven't spent any time, you see this massive hole that goes from RTP down to the airport, down to Umstead, to Shank Forest, really to Blue Ridge Road. Over 20,000 acres of land that is not fully developable. Now, some of those key features, I think, are gems for our region and really provide opportunity to do a lot of neat stuff, but it is the middle of our region where we do not have the ability to grow in the way that many other places do. We've looked at a lot of analogs, and Silicon Valley is really the only one that is similar. There they have the physical bay sort of in the middle of the region, but it creates some development challenges. Durham, for example, as Durham grows, they're really facing pressures on which way they go. Going north is going to require a substantial amount of infrastructure for them to grow and move people north of downtown. Southways towards the park is really the area where the infrastructure is strongest and where growth can be enabled, but that then hits into the park boundary pretty quickly. That's one example of the types of things we've been talking about over the last 5 years, trying to think about how RTP can at least provide some relief to these growth pressures that we're going to be feeling going forward. We wanted to also make sure that we're growing in smart ways. We are sort of thinking about our talent base. We're thinking about research and innovation, this identity that we've built nationally and internationally, how we can maintain that. We don't want to make RTP a complete mixed-use wonderland. We need to sort of make sure that it's a place where innovation can happen and where companies are comfortable with that. In this process of thinking about rezoning the park and thinking about this 3.0, it's been interesting to hear companies give us feedback. They are all over the board in terms of what they want RTP to be. You have a company like United Therapeutics. Part of their mission is to grow organs in animals. They need to have animals on their campus, and as you can imagine, aren't real thrilled about having residents living next to their facility because of all the not in my backyard issues. You then have groups like IBM and Cisco that have campuses that were designed in an era where that suburban corporate campus was in demand and is no longer so. They're thinking about ways to dynamically move their campus. And so trying to think about how those different uses can all coexist in a park that has a 1960s sort of identity has been the challenge. But we're working through it, and we've been working closely with our friends in Wake County and Durham County, and have just in the last year received the sorts of public support we need to move forward in this rezoning effort. The other big driver is growth. So we're projected to be the third fastest growing metro area in the country. That's 1 million new residents in the next 20 years. 400,000 housing units are going to be necessary to support that growth. We're on the clip to do about half of that right now, not quite half of that right now. So someplace in the region has to sort of become more dense than it has traditionally been. And we think that there are areas of the park where we can facilitate mixed-use development, facilitate that kind of density that will support the growth. We're not going to be the only answer, but we think that we can be part of the answer. So that's been part of this 3.0 experiment. The other thing we've done over the last 5 years is really try to get smart on the way that innovation districts and science parks have evolved as an entity. We were really the first wave of this sort of type of project. We were built and modeled after Stanford Research Park in Palo Alto. And we've become a prototype for that kind of suburban style research park. What you saw in the 2000s was the idea of these urban innovation districts. We have some of them here in North Carolina. Winston-Salem has launched theirs tied to Wake Forest University's hospital and medical establishment. Charlotte just launched the Pearl, which is a partnership with the Wake Forest Medical School and downtown Charlotte. When you look across the world, you see these urban innovation districts that are smaller, but they're dense, and they sort of think about the inclusion of amenities in a different way. And then as those have evolved, you start to see more and more of these mixed use facilities. There aren't just districts that are devoted nothing to innovation, but you see people living and working and playing, even to the point where the corporate presence is woven into fabric. So if you've been to Seattle recently, you don't see Amazon headquarters. You see 13 different buildings that are woven into a neighborhood that is sort of broadly tied to the community. That's the way that development is going. So we've been trying to study these different models and make sure that we're reacting to where the corporate demand is for space and land use, but also thinking about where the employee and the worker wants to be. Where do we look to for our comp sets? Well, there aren't that many research parks our size and scope, so we look to those sort of larger cities and the innovation districts within those to really understand land use. So Kendall Square in Massachusetts is one of the true impressive movers of the last 25 years. We've got a picture in just a second that I'll show as reference. We look at Tech Square in Atlanta, University City in Philadelphia, Mission Bay in San Francisco. We look at South Lake Union in Seattle and National Landing in Washington, D.C. Now, this is the breakdown of residential, office, retail, and hotel in those different districts. The light blue is residential, the dark blue is office, the kind of light red is retail, and the darker red is hotel. If you were to do that sort of breakdown for RTP, it would be almost entirely dark blue. So you see, we are not currently meeting the land use framework of our competitors, and that's what we're trying to do here with 3.0. This is Kendall Square. This was Kendall Square in the 80s, say when, 85. So lots of parking lots, familiar to what RTP might look like in a specific campus setting today. You then fast forward to more recent photo, you see how they've infilled and created this innovation district that is based around MIT, but now connects to Harvard and is probably the central sort of growth node for Boston until they sort of launched the Seaport District. Now the Seaport District, I think, is competing, but this was really the most impressive mover, I would say, in the last 20 years in these innovation spaces. So if you look then at RTP and how our land use compares to Kendall Square, and then just for giggles, we added Cupertino and Apple Park, you see different environments. We are underdeveloped in our land use, and that's something that we're really trying to think smartly about while not giving away the goose that has gotten us where we are today. So what we've done in RTP is rethought the sort of paradigms for place. And we're sort of trying to go to create 4 different options. If there's a company in the park that wants to continue being suburban office, sort of low density, that's great. We're not asking anybody to change what they are. They own the land outright, and they should have that right. Where there's somebody who wants to be more dense than our restrictive covenants used to allow, we've enabled that. So you can do what we call the enhanced corporate campus. You can get many more buildings onto your space. You can think about structured parking, and you can sort of go forward in a way that allows for growth and density. We're thinking about a residential development component. It's never going to be a majority in the park and is not likely to ever involve single family homes. We hear a lot of talk about the missing middle in the triangle, the sort of duplexes to sort of small multifamilies. That's something we're trying to enable, sort of thinking with the new urbanist lens and really trying to make sure that amenities and retail and sort of live, work, play environments at a smaller scale are allowed. We've set a ceiling on the amount that can be allowed in the park to right around 7%. So again, that will always be a minority use, but where you might have a corporate campus that has 20 acres, 50 acres that they want to sort of carve off and think about for residential, we want to give them the ability to do that. So we've created this idea for the residential nodes, and then our mixed use density nodes. Those are the real power centers, Fentons, what we're trying to do in Hub RTP. You know, in those cases, you're probably looking at 50 acres plus, thinking about some verticality, thinking about commercial office, as well as retail and multifamily. And so as we went around the country, or we went around the continent, we tried to identify place types that were inspirational, and one that we were particularly fond of on the enhanced corporate campus. Again, that's that more densely sort of laid out corporate layout was Lilly's headquarters in Indianapolis. So you get a sense of how it compares to the image we showed earlier of RTP. Then on the residential, we really have looked to Portland, Oregon, and the Kearns neighborhood there. You sort of see how that kind of comes together with a little bit of a community square, green in the middle, some retail there. It sort of resembles Southern Village in Chapel Hill if you've been there. The idea though is that you're able to get a much more dense sort of accommodation for housing. And then on the mixed use, we really like Westbrook Place, which is just outside of Vancouver and the University of British Columbia. Fortunately, they have the ocean abutting them, which we can't reproduce. But otherwise, it's a nice mix of towers, mid-size, sort of lower scale projects. It's got green space and really has a very nice mixed use environment. So we're hoping to sort of launch these modalities formally in the next 3 to 4 months. The last step in our process is for the newly named sort of land use board for RTP to finalize its regulatory structure so we can give the real estate community some guidance in what is allowed and where the restrictions are, and then see what the market will generate. I think that's it. We have a couple of minutes for questions. Happy to answer and happy to stay around afterwards for anyone who wants to dig in. Did not see the order of questions, so we'll go 1, 2, 3. Go ahead. So it depends on what you mean by passenger rail. So we are in. So I do not see light rail that requires new tracks. I think if you were on that side, we lost that fight. If you weren't, then you won. But regardless, I think that fight has been fought and is likely over with the sort of determination about 8 years ago. I do think increased Amtrak service and the development of the existing corridor is very much in the way. So we are working just adjacent to our hub RTP campus on thinking about a passenger stop or Amtrak stop there that would be in between Cary and Durham. And the hope is that over time, Amtrak will respond to increased demand and see sending more trains from Raleigh to Charlotte as part of their business plan, which would then allow you to stop in Cary, RTP, and Durham. So the kind of Raleigh-Charlotte line becomes the commuter line with then stops more regularly along the way. It's probably never going to be more than 2 or 3 times an hour during high zones, but the hope is that that may be in the long-term vision. So I would say yes to that. I've got to do a quick shout out on bus rapid transit because that's the area that we've really leaned into as a regional transportation community. And I do think that that will provide some relief going forward in the same way that train might have. Yes, sir. That is correct. So I'll answer it in several ways. Inside the park boundary proper, we have about 175 people living today. That's as a result of our Hub RTP project and the first residential that's been developed in the park boundaries. Now, boundaries are a funny thing, right? Because you have 2 sides. And if you go just over the boundary, you have a lot of residential. So if you go down Davis Drive, there's actually a little cutout in the park map on where Davis Drive bisects an area that's in the park, it's not in the park, and it's back in the park. And there's housing in that little sort of subsection. So all around, we estimate there are about 20,000 people living in, kind of a 5-minute drive distance that's going on Highway 55 towards Durham, in the Davis Drive area going around Morrisville and even into Apex. You see sort of lots of multifamily there. We've just done a study looking at affordability around the park. I'll be honest, the hypothesis going into it was that there was going to be a lack of affordable housing around RTP. We found the opposite. Most of that housing is price competitive with what you see in other parts of the region. We need more of it. And I think the ability to build more inside is available. So right around 20,000 in what I would call the near periphery. Our study sort of did a 15-minute drive radius. And if you go that far, you get more into the 40 to 50,000 folks. Yes, sir.
Explain the jurisdiction. You're in Wade, Durham County. You have the RTP Foundation, but who is responsible for the zoning and approval of projects? You still have to deal with the
So until about 6 months ago, the answer was yes, we dealt with the counties. And that was part of the move, if you will, of RTP 3.0, was to create sort of like NC State and Duke have internal jurisdiction to sort of oversee most land use decisions. We still have to submit site plans to the counties, and the counties have approval there. But for the most part, the regulatory regime is now established by an internal body that is made up 50% of owners and tenant representatives of the park and 50% of appointees by our board of trustees. So they will be doing it. The hope is that will expedite land use and decision-making going forward, and we can kind of push through projects as quickly as possible. It was a labor of love prior to that, and we hope that this will allow us to cut some time off the process. Yes, sir. Thanks. Great question. You know, I think that there's a lot of interest, and I think that one of the challenges for our region is that of the companies that are in the park, very few of them have their real estate decision makers here. And so you're going to see people, you're going to see a lot of people in the real estate community, some of you may be there, wanting to kick the tires early on and try to think about, okay, what does this mean? What can we build? And they're going to look and ask us, and we're going to say, okay, well, I'd have to go to the individual owner. And the individual owner is going to say, we don't know. And so what we're thinking about in the near term is how can we do some strategic facilitation so that owners can really be thinking thoughtfully about where they can go. And real estate community can be thinking thoughtfully about these constructs that we've developed and how they can sort of determine what's marketable within those buckets. So I'd say in the short term, I'll get to 15, but in the 5-year time frame, I would love for there to be at least some owners that have a general sense of what their long-term plan is for their site. And of that subsection of people who kind of have a sense, some of them may be thinking creatively about ways to partner with real estate, the real estate community in the spirit of 3.0. I think in the 10 to 15 years, I hope we will have seen at least one fairly substantial mixed use project and maybe even a residential project that is out of the ground and rolling. And that we will have done both of those in a way that hasn't created any deleterious effects on the innovation environment, creating conflict between a company that really wants to do innovation and is not as supportive of that and those that aren't. We want it to still be a place where innovation comes to grow. And so we want to make sure we've maintained that while thinking about land use in a different way.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Before you go sit down, fascinating information and the job that you and your team have about being strategic on what RTP looks like, a gem of our region, and also the complexity of how the demands of the businesses that you're working with and what is the best way to utilize those. It just seems like it's an ever-changing kind of approach. So with that, you will probably need some coffee. So we have the Rotary Club of Raleigh speaker book with our 4-way test in the back, as well as we wanted to provide you with a America 250 tree campaign shirt as well. So thank you so much for your time today. It was wonderful.
Enjoy it.
All right, Rotarians. With that, we will be dismissed today. If you'll stand for the 4-way test. Of the things we think, say, and do, first, is it truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? We are dismissed.